I will let you know. Okay, this is Edip. It is 23rd of August, 2021. We are together right now. Let me see what we see. Okay. I need to make sure that we are, Sarina, you are not visible. I don't know why. You are,
I am.
Hold on. Okay, gallery. It was in speaker. I think right now I want to see it. Okay, people, today we have Sarina Faizy. I met her at Clubhouse. She is in America, in the United States, but she was born in Kandahar, I think in Kandahar, correct?
Yes.
Kandahar, Afghanistan, and she was raised there. She came to the United States and she is right now here. Askaro, you're not supposed to be visible right now. I don't know how to hide you. No, you are, I couldn't manage. Both of us will talk and later I will include you. I mean,
okay, but I'm going to sign out and sign in. Is that okay?
No, you can stay there. You may just, maybe sign off. And if you come half an hour later.
Okay, perfect.
That would be fantastic. I really appreciate it.
Okay.
I apologize. This is
no.
a technical issue. Okay, I will, thank you. See you, inshallah.
Yeah.
Please join us.
Yeah, sure. I'm gonna now try to sign out.
Okay, Sarina, your country, there was Taliban before. And then, first of all, tell us about very short story of your country from Russian invasion in 1978 and later American invasion. Tell us a little bit about the story of your country.
My name is Sarina Faizy and I born in Kandahar, Afghanistan, which was used to be a capital of Taliban in Taliban regime. And I grew up there and I was there until 2019 when I got a scholarship here in America for my master. I moved here and it have been just 2 months that I finished my college. And speaking about my country, I think, so far in that 20 or 19 years, we worked so hard, all Afghan people and international community, to build up what we lost, 14 years before. But right now we are at the same page again.
Okay, and how old are you?
I'm 23.
How long have you been in the US? I know I'm asking these very kind of boring questions first.
Well, I think it's a really personal questions, but it have been just 2 years that I'm here in America based on my master's degree.
And your English is much better than mine. I have been in US for more than 30 years. I admire your English. How did you get this beautiful English?
Thank you so much. Well, when I was in Afghanistan, there was one beautiful center with the help of Canadian, help of Canada and also USA. That was Canadian school. And I was there for just my English speaking language and also the laptop skills, computer skills.
Okay. And I met you at Clubhouse. You were pretty passionate against Taliban rule, correct?
Well, because I believe the rule that they apply and using the Islamic name, it's really not fair. And I would say it's not right what they're doing right now. And they're using the name of Sharia law and applying their own law on especially, women and Afghan people back in Afghanistan.
Feel free to talk. You can tell me anything. You don't need to be short and however you feel, Sarina. And we are watching the rise of Taliban again. And of course, before Taliban, United States spent 20 years there, correct?
Well, almost we would say 20 or to 19 years there in Afghanistan to build up Afghanistan. We would put that in the concept of like to build up Afghanistan, but at the same time kind of focus on security section of Afghanistan, how they can like build up the security forces for us, for Afghani people, that 20 years.
And now we have split feelings. Many people like me have split feelings. On one hand, we don't like United States invading other countries. There could be, arguably, could be United States initial attack to Afghanistan, removing Taliban from power could be justified because Taliban harbored Al-Qaeda, correct? Bin Laden, and who attacked the United States. Therefore, maybe initial invasion, maybe it required only special operation against Al-Qaeda. There were few, and but the United States chose to invade. But it took about 20 years in a country, and both Americans and the international community says, what is the United States is doing there? And correct, because it's your country. Why you want your country be invaded by another country, which is considered imperialist by many in the world? What do you think?
Well, personally and professionally, I would put that in a different point of view because, when a country is in need, you got to help. As being a superpower country, you got to, help and go for it. What happened in Afghanistan was, first, there was Russian people who had in charge in Afghanistan and had the security responsibility in Afghanistan. And everything was most likely stable. And then slowly, the USA entered there, and there was Mujahideen, supported Mujahideen, and kicked out the Russian people from Afghanistan. And then Mujahideen was getting the power a lot in Afghanistan. And the things were not good the way they wanted, the way they thought it's going to be helpful for Afghani people or Afghanistan. So what happened, and then there was a support back, and they created, and there was a creation of Taliban. So when the Taliban were there and they kicked out Mujahideen and they got the power, and the power get transferred to that, to that group. And then back, they understood that it's not going to work that way until we don't have a democracy in Afghanistan. So let's get this voting system to let people choose who they want to have as a leader and as a president. And that happened in 2002 and 1 when they entered, and there was the former president, Hamid Karzai, he got the chair and he got the position there, and there was a stable government. So far so good. And then slowly, we did had that 20 years when we talk about like building up and why we as Afghan people want to allow people to come and take our security sections and be responsible for Afghan people's security. First, I would say Afghanistan was used of a lot of countries. They used Afghanistan land for different reasons, because we have a neighbors like Pakistan, Iran, China, and some other countries that is affecting Afghanistan. It's not Afghani people. It's not the system of Afghanistan. It's not the government problem. It's not the local people problem. It's the problem we have a neighbors. The neighbors countries, which we have a border with them, is not going to allow us to be in the peace. Because if we have a peace there in Afghanistan, stability, we're going to, build up a lot of stuff there that's going to hurt them financially, or I would say economically, which they never want to accept that. So of course there will be, I would say they will never want Afghanistan to be stable.
Yeah, in fact, Taliban has been funded and founded and supported by Pakistan. They are Pashtuns, correct?
Well, I would not say that they all are Pashtuns, but the lead part of Taliban are right now most likely Pashtuns, yes, but they are from Pakistan. In Pakistan, we have a Pashtun type too that they call themselves Pathan. So from Pakistan, they get in their mosques. In Pakistan, they have multiple mosques for a different training, different reasons, and they have more than thousands and thousands, students. So no matter that how, this is just one example in Afghanistan. It could spread to the world too, because guess, right now they just have, they're giving and receiving training in Pakistan. Maybe they will transfer all, those trainings back to Afghanistan and make, Afghanistan the same, process that they're having in Pakistan. Maybe they will follow up with that program there too. And it will go to like different countries that has a border with us. And then slowly it will transfer to different biggest countries.
Can you tell me about the tribes in Afghanistan and the international, the neighbors' imperialistic ambitions, and which are countries and which tribes are kind of certain tribes, considerable number of people? Who are they?
Well, we have a lot of, different types in Afghanistan. First, I would say Pashtun, the, majority of Afghan people are Pashtun there in Afghanistan. That is kind of like, connected back with Pakistan because they're also having—
They are between Pakistan and Iran, mostly in south.
They're not living in Iran at all, the Pashtun people?
No, between Iran and Pakistan, correct. Iran this side, Pakistan in the area between extending from Iran to Pakistan, they are Pashtuns, correct?
Well, I would say, I don't know what you're talking about there, but I would say most likely in Afghanistan, we have the Pashtun tribe, which is the largest amount, and they're connected back with the, I would say they're not connected. The same tribe is living in Pakistan too, because we have a lot of, when there was a Mujahideen, war in Afghanistan, or Mujahideen took over the power, most likely Pashtun people and other people, moved to different areas, like Persian people or Dervish people left Afghanistan for Iran, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan. And that's why right now, when they got back, when there was a stability in Afghanistan, like we have right now, Persian, which is a Dari speaker in Afghanistan, Pashtun, Hazara, Tajik, Uzbek, Turkmeni. So we have different types in Afghanistan. It just depends on what is the percentage of those people, sometime up, sometime like which is the largest group is in Afghanistan. Right now, the largest group is Pashtun, Hazara, Tajik. So those are the biggest tribes in Afghanistan right now. That is most likely in the Cold War with each other to get the power of Afghanistan, especially, when it comes to the president, the parliament, and those all big chairs, the key chairs, they always try to fight through all things.
Okay, I will go forward and backward. First, a little bit about you and your family is there. What were you doing while you were there? Can you tell me about your activities there while you were in Afghanistan, sorry.
When I was in Afghanistan, I was working with, first I was, of course, like everybody, as being a one woman, I had really difficult time to get to the school and, finish my schooling because I was living in Kandahar, Afghanistan, that was used to be the capital of Taliban. And then slowly I moved forward to, to create a basketball team in Kandahar city. And I was the first Pashtun woman who had the membership in national team of basketball in Afghanistan.
Ooh, are you serious?
Yeah.
I didn't know that you played basketball.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Meanwhile, we have Ani Zanavald. She's the president of Progressive Muslims. She's in the background. She's waiting. I will take her later. And I didn't know that. And tell me more.
Yeah, so then when I was selected there, then, with the help of some other people, then we created, a big team that was a larger team in Kandahar, Afghanistan. For the first time, more than 41 women joined, the young kids from college and schools, they joined our team. And I was the trainer for them officially. And then at the same time, I was working with the Special Forces of USA back in Kandahar, Afghanistan. I was the first female to work with them as a media relation officer and to kind of like do the arrangement to how to connect the, government people with the local people and with the social media to kind of collaborate this events with them and give them information, what exactly they're doing and what is the upcoming programs. And other than that, then when I finished my work with the, Special Forces of USA in Kandahar, Afghanistan, my contract was done. Then I moved to CCI office, which is one of the international organization. And I work as a project manager for a month because I was a really short-term program for regarding women leadership. And then I moved to And I was thinking what I have to do to make some changes. And I'm young, and of course I want to have some change. And I was seeing a lot of young kids and young, women, especially in part of women in the kids. There was a lot of problem in that time in Afghanistan. And it's still, I would say better than now. That time was better than now. But comparing to the normal life, that was really, there was a need of someone to come up and speak up about those things. So I chose myself to run for the election in Kandahar, Afghanistan, as a provincial council member, which is the key chair, which is a small parliament for the whole city or state, I would say. So then I win that, and I got a good votes from people. People believed on me, and I served for my country as an elected provincial council member, the youngest female in all around Afghanistan for almost.
Mashallah. Mashallah. Yeah. And then you came to the United States. Which university are you at?
Well, I came and back forward a lot in America with different reasons, for Bush Foundation having a leadership program there, and then with the State Department.
I don't like Bush. That Bush was bad guy. Anyway, pass that one. Let's not discuss that one.
Well, that was the program for women empowerment, which was really unique for me, and I really respect that program. Because of that program, I achieved a lot of my goals. And other than that, then I was a part of another program with the State Department as an international visitor here. And then slowly, I was having international trips a lot. And then I choose to okay, right now I have my bachelor degree, my school degree, and some good experience back in Afghanistan. I have to build up my education regarding my master's degree. And I applied for one of the college, William Mary College in Williamsburg, VA, Virginia.
William and Mary?
Yes.
It's one of the best humanities college. Top.
Yes, it's the best law school. And I applied there, and I got the half-funded scholarship. And then I find one of a really kind person who sponsored my education here in America too, because I was not full funded, I was half funded, but I reached out to some people, and there was a really, I would say, God's angel who came and who helped me with that situation. And then I finished last May, 22 of May, I finished my master's degree. I got my degree, which is hanging here, right?
Wow, beautiful. I didn't know that. I'm just learning about you. I just had little information about you. I wanted to be spontaneous as possible. Now, if you go there, what you expect? Oh, before that, in parentheses, I had, when I was the leader of Islamist youth in Turkey, when I was young, kind of very passionate and stupid at the same time, I supported Gulbuddin Hikmatyar. In fact, I collected thousands of dollars they were giving me. And then, in fact, once I handed him in Istanbul, and we were friends. Can you imagine Gulbuddin Hikmatyar, Hizbi Islami? I don't know what happened to him. And I of course, at that time, they were under Russian invasion and they were defending. But here it is. If you go to Afghanistan now, let's say, you say Taliban here, I am Sarina. I hope that you will be treating us well, women well. Please be kind. What do you think they will do? This way, exactly as it is.
Of course, I'm a really straightforward person, and I'm not going to play around. I will just come to the point that first, everybody's taking a step out of Afghanistan. They don't want to stay in Afghanistan. So that will be really, that will be a big lie for me to say that I will want to go back to Afghanistan right now, seeing the situation. No. But if in case, just a thought and a dream, that I would say that I would have to go there, and then I say, okay, so I'm here. What's going to happen? Please treat us in the same way, equally as it used to be, and the achievement that all Afghan women had and worked so hard for those achievements. And we had a loss of the bloods and our loved ones, to keep it the way it is and let us to promote ourselves in Afghanistan during, even though you were power, whatever, how long it's going to be. I think it's really tricky to say that they're going to say yes, because I have a contact with a lot of women who are back in Afghanistan. And they tell me that, yes, on social media, the Taliban says that come to the work back. But when they get to the work point as a female, they just reject them back and they just send them back to their homes. So I think it's really, I don't trust them personally. And I believe that they're not trustworthy people yet, or I would say will never, because whenever they say something, they act differently. And when they act differently, they say something. So their words and their action are not matching. And we can't trust them, even though if they are saying right now that we are not gonna like hurt anyone who work with the government or international community, but who trust? We have a lots of videos and people that are dead because of them, that were just working as a police officer or as a local person or as an activist, or just they were using the Facebooks and they're dead. So what about the person who worked in the really high position? They're not gonna let
do you see the picture I'm showing? One of the many pictures. This is not one of the worst ones. They stone people to death, mostly women. And here it is. This is unbelievable. Women are basically buried alive in sacks. These are sacks. Their face is not even visible, which is contrary to the Quran. The Quran says they should cover their chest. It is for believers, not for everyone else. It doesn't tell to men. And say, let the women, believing women, believing means really trusting God, those women who trust God. And that means they should be recognized as righteous women and not be harassed by men, not be confused with prostitutes and others. Because from that verse, you understand that were in Medina, some women were kind of walking around their chest, they were showing. And the Quran wants them to distinguish themselves by just covering themselves if they don't want to be harassed. It is a recommendation of God to women, not to men. It's not forced. No verse in the Quran says you go to hell if you don't do that, for their own protection. And in fact, there is another verse says there's certain exception in their body that they should show. In another verse says, Muhammad, you cannot marry more women. In fact, multiple marriages is only given permission in case of widows with orphans. It is another issue. But says you cannot marry even their beauty attracts you. That means, but here, all are the same. There is no, you cannot even see the beauty of the woman, correct? And therefore, it is entirely against the Quran, but just ignore the religion. And this is hell for women. In fact, for men too, because men cannot enjoy this situation. And children are traumatized here.
Well, it is, even though that picture made me emotional, I'm sorry. I would say that it's really difficult as a woman to put, like when I was in Afghanistan, yes, I never wear the burqa, the yellow, the blue hijab, but I always had like the same hijab like this. But I would say Islam allowed us to choose. It just depends what you want to choose and how you want to follow the religion. God is here in our heart and we pray for God. And there should be not a third party, a forcing section to force you to believe. It's not I don't believe on that kind of God that, forces you, a people forces you. It's a really unique connection with the God that comes naturally if people have a faith and believe. You can't force someone. I love my life like that. Maybe personally, I'm more like, maybe personally in my home, I don't wear those clothes. I may be different. But I want to say like...
I will cut you a little bit because Ani also will join us a few minutes later. Hopefully, Professor Ali Askarov will join us. Now,
thank you. Thanks, Edip.
You're
Sarina,
welcome.
Sarina, nice to meet you.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Ani.
Sarina, my name is Ani Zonavad. I'm the founder and president of an American-based organization, human rights organization called Muslims for Progressive Values. And although we're based in the United States, we have a lot of work internationally, and we challenge a lot of the human rights abuses in the name of Sharia law. We do that at the community level, and we also do that at the United Nations. And so oftentimes, as you very well know, a lot of these human rights abuses and misogynistic interpretation of Islam and the treatment of the Taliban and various versions of the misogynistic interpretation of Islam is done so according to Sharia law. I mean, the Taliban had the press conference, women's rights as long as it's compliant with Sharia law. Well, the problem is Sharia law is interpreted in so many different ways, and it's a human and mostly men-made construct. So for the many years, I have a very deep and personal connection with Afghanistan, and I'll share this with you and with everyone. But I used to live in India in my teenage years, and I used to play every morning. I used to play ping pong with a grandson of the king of Afghanistan at that time, and this was in 1973. So I am quite elderly. I don't look so, but yeah. So and so I've been following Afghanistan for a very long time, and so when I know during the span of the American and NATO, the Western presence in post 9/11, there was a lot of effort to create the constitution to also use Islam to justify the human rights laws in the Afghanistan, on the Afghan constitution. And I think that has boded quite well for women's rights in Afghanistan. As a matter of fact, I worked with Islamic scholars of Islam that were hired to work with Afghan women and religious leaders in Afghanistan to create this constitution that was also compliant with Islam and Sharia law. What do you say to the many Taliban sympathizers that I read in the media, the muftis that are congratulating from Oman to Morocco to Mauritania to all these religious hypocrites, I call, that are congratulating Taliban for their win, and also the Western-based Muslims who are basically saying, "Oh, give the Taliban a break. They are only been in power for a few days," etc. So that's one question. And the second question is, please use your might and all your voice that you can. And I would recommend that you actually write an op-ed in pushing back against these narratives of the sympathetic Taliban sympathizers in the West. Because I think that can only come from the voices of the privileged. Only you as a privileged sitting in the West as a Muslim can speak this way. Because the Taliban claims in their press release that they do not, they are against narcotics, but they made their money and they funded their efforts by selling opium, right? So just please list down the hypocrisy of this Taliban press conference, point by point if you can, and just go for it. And thanks for being here.
Sarina, did you have a chance to check Manifesto for Islamic Reform?
Well, first I would like to say really nice seeing you here, and that's really good to to have you here. I think it's really important to find out what exactly a woman from different countries thinks and have their thoughts regarding the situation right now in Afghanistan, and especially when it comes to the Islamic Sharia law. No, I have not had a chance because, as you see, the situation is really difficult right now in Afghanistan. So I'm just keep following with my friends and family. I did not have a time at all to check any other information. I'm keep having interviews with the different organizations. And today, after this, I have another meeting, and then there is a lot of Afghan people here in Dallas Airport. That I'm going to go and see them and visit them and welcome them. So I honestly, no, I have not checked that yet, but I'm going to do it for sure.
Can you answer my question about what can you do, say about the apologists, Taliban apologists that I was speaking of, and if you can speak to that, please.
Yeah, sure. First I would say, the way you mentioned that, we have to start from somewhere and raise our voices, no matter from which platform it is. I think, so far Afghan people who are living in Afghanistan and they have a chance, they do it. And the people who are outside, they do try their best. It just depends on, how long the people, other countries, people are going to move forward to that, section with us to have this big movement, not just nationally for Afghan people or by Afghan people, internationally, by our friends like this. And other than that, I would say, the way, when I saw the conference of Taliban, they had a press conference and there was a lady who asked him, she said, what about the women's rights? And they said, in their answer, they said that it's going to be under Sharia law. And we totally respect that. We totally respect and accept women. And I'm like, how this is possible when we don't see any woman from your side? There is no changes. If there was really unique changes and they really believed on women's rights, they would have at least one female from their side to come and have them in peace talk. So then we could feel better that, yes, it's not just the words, it is really, really happening and they really, really mean it. So I personally feel that it's just the symbolic stuff that they use, Sharia law. Which kind of Sharia law? It's a man law, Taliban law, or Sharia law. So what's the definition of Sharia law for them? The Islamic country like Saudi Arab and other big countries, they have to sit with them. The big mufti and Mawlawi need to sit with them. The head of the religion of Islam need to sit with them and tell them, what is the definition? And ask the question, what's the definition of Taliban regarding the Sharia law? Why the Sharia law just applies on women? One thing. And another thing, which kind of religion it is if you're going to force people to do it? In Islam, I read the Quran. In Islam, there is no page that it says that you have to force somebody else and give them labbaik to come to and join the Islam. No, it says it's Allah. It's an option. You want to do it, best for you. You don't want to do it. You don't want to follow all the rules. It's up to you. You're gonna face that, between you and Allah at the end. It's not like, okay, Taliban are going to come and defend us and they're the lawyer for us in that war too and face Allah. No, you're not. You're not going to come to bury with me together and face my questions and my ups and downs of my life, my problems, that I was not following the religion. So I think it's just like a statement that they use to cover themselves up with that, to have a good picture in the international platform. In the reality, I think they are the same people. We don't see any changes. They have not yet they have control over Afghanistan, but they are not stable yet either. They don't have the government yet. But, how it's going to work when they have stability, what they're going to see, how they're going to react regarding women. Is women are going to work again under the burqa? I tried one time burqa. You can't even breathe. You can't see anything. And for a woman, you're how? There is a lot of, in Saudi Arab, this is we believe as a Muslim that this is the best place for Islam or Muslim people. They don't wear burqa.
It is worse than that. It takes away women's identity and social, economic, political activities all become zero. Women has no identity. Even that woman, the self-confidence is killed, is slave of men. And that woman cannot even ask for help because so much traumatized since childhood. And one of the worst cases has nothing to do with Islam. It is the enemies of Islam can do that. Honestly, it is impossible. Therefore, I think it is red line, and women, whatever they want to wear, that it is their choice, or don't wear. But covering the face, to me, it is red line. We should not allow anyone in the society covering their face because it allows slavery to become prevalent in the society.
One thing that I want to mention that, the blue burqa in Afghanistan that they use, the Taliban were using that against, like, to do the bomb blast.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you don't see who is this. An old man can be walking with a 14-year-old girl in burqa, face covered. Society will not know that this is a pedophile already enslaved one of the girls.
Edip, sorry, I have a question. This is a real quick one. Sarina, some of the comments that I've been reading about Afghanistan was that the American created a culture of corruption in Afghanistan, number one. And number two is that when the Americans claim that the women has had more education than during the Taliban days, etc., what these Taliban apologists are saying that this is only for the privileged Afghani women. It's not for those in rural areas, etc. So can you give us a better perspective of that, please? Thanks. And that's my last question.
That's really a good question. Yes, in the Taliban regime, women were allowed to get education, but which kind of, first, there was not a woman. There was no word of woman to woman get the education. There was little kids. Like when you get 12 and 11, as a woman, you can't go to the school. One thing that I want to clarify, and which kind of education we are talking in Taliban regime, it was Islamic education. I mean, just reading the Holy Quran and understanding how to write your name. That was the education for women. And in the age of 12, the education that they're talking was to get married and have a birth each year. And regarding like the education of this 20 or 19 years that we worked, first, there was no schooling for some years. And people are afraid. In 2004, 5, 6, we were building up the stuff and convincing people to have a thoughts of education, especially for females, to work and give them, even though in the school, to encourage and motivate them. The USA had a beautiful plan to give them the home goodies like cookies and stuff to just, convince them to come to school. The people most likely in that time were coming not for education. Okay, I'm going to get at the end of the month this stuff for my home to help my family as a female. And then after that, right now, this, 10 years, I would count this 10 years that people in the young generation had a new thought, had a hope, had a dream of a change, had a for the peace we worked so hard. They had a dream to have Afghanistan and the flag of Afghanistan being around Afghanistan and being able to enjoy the joy of the life and being alive and feeling how a human being needs to be. And the government worked hard to have that, but there was a lot of corrupt people too who were in that process. That everything which was regarding to happen, most likely to do it the way it should be, was not done. But so far the Afghan woman or man both were able to get the education. But in the district area or the rural area of Afghanistan, we did not have even schools for even non-men. So what about the female? And if you don't have a graduated people from in that area, who's going to work there? Even though if we have a school, nobody's going to go from city in the unsecure area to go and give them education. So everything was so tricky and people were working on that. This was a progress time for Afghanistan.
Thank you. We have Ali here. I really appreciate this information. Ali Askarov, he's professor on peace studies. Go ahead. Ali, first of all, you are keeping your phone vertically. If you take it sideways, you will have more real estate there. Oh, he's from where? Are you from Azerbaijan? Okay, hold on. Let me, your voice, unmute yourself, please.
Yeah, that's right, Edip.
Nice to see you. Our guest, we have Sarina Faizy. She's an Afghani activist, human rights and women rights activist. She's a very, mashallah, passionate, knowledgeable, articulate at this age. And Ani Zanavald, you know her. She's also another activist. Welcome.
Good to see you all.
Thank you. What is your take on the issue about current American basically retreat and leaving even weapons, about $80 billion worth of weapons left to Taliban? There is something, of course, deal with Taliban. I don't think just they escape. There is something deal through Pakistan and Taliban. There is some deal, I think. I don't think that just left that way. Go ahead.
So The conflict is pretty old. It's about 42 years old. It's not new. And this is an incredible case of seeing how foreign intervention, foreign forces can ruin a nation, a country, create never-ending problem for people, for Islam, for culture, for people's custom, etc. Unfortunately. So this is how we see that, hey, if foreigners come and try to bring democracy, export democracy, Western democracy to a, say, country like Afghanistan with extremely rich culture, its own customs, etc., what can be the result? We are seeing that now, right now. So the problem one is, in my view, not the fact that Taliban is dangerous to people in Afghanistan. The number one problem is that why the United States of America went to Afghanistan, invaded that country 20 years ago and escaped today in this particular way. That's the number one problem, okay? Why they did leave Afghanistan in this such a way, in such a bad historical conditions. That's bad, you know? But we knew that there was a threat of Taliban, but the real problem is why the US left Afghanistan right now in this particular way. This is number one problem in my view, and should be discussed in depth. In other words, the US betrayed people of Afghanistan right now. And as a matter of fact, they escaped. They did not leave Afghanistan. Still, just yesterday or today, the president of the United States said that, hey, we may little bit delay the evacuation of our people. And Taliban said, no, 31st of August is the last day. They're playing with the US. The second problem is that we are right now seeing if somebody goes to somewhere else and creates illegal organizations to win, what the results could be. See, decades ago, when the Soviets invaded Afghanistan, the United States of America, and some others, as a matter of fact, they created certain illegal organizations like Al-Qaeda and their leaders like Osama bin Laden. Why? They wanted to win, right? To win the war against the Soviets. That was, to some extent, the war of ideology. But then what happened? After a couple of decades, they saw that whatever they created, that was the biggest problem for themselves. Okay, that's why creating illegal organizations to win at that particular historical moment not necessarily was good for those who really created those organizations. This is the second, that they gotta learn this lesson. The third is ruining indigenous traditions is not a good idea. Afghanistan is not a simple country. It has thousands of years of history. It means that the people have their own customs and cultures and traditions. Okay, if you ruin all of them, because you try to export Western values there, right? Your own values that you live with in the West, in the US, in Europe, etc. You just export them to Afghanistan. You try to rule people with your own custom, your own, say, law, your own traditions, your own perception of democracy, etc. And you try to oust indigenous traditions from the lives of people. And this is the result today. And another one is the US and the West taught the youth in Afghanistan to fight, and more so, how to live on fighting. And people, youth in Afghanistan, the best thing they know, I'm not speaking about the all, but the majority, I would say, they know how to live on by fighting. And they know what war economy is today. And they know how to deal with weapons, how to kill, etc. And this is in their culture now, I would say. And finally, Taliban unfortunately damages Islam and creates false perception or misperception about Islam in the world. People think that when they see Taliban, they think that that's Islam. Of course, it's not. But it's very hard to explain them what Islam is. But it's very easy for them to understand not to understand, as a matter of fact, that Islam and Taliban are the same. There's such a judgment, unfortunately, and we are facing that, okay? So the damages of this, or the fixed damages of this, gonna be very hard and gonna consume a lot of time. Yeah, that's
yes. I'm sorry, I want to say just a few words and then leave to you, Sarina and Ani. I think that US 20 years, a lot of waste and mismanagement. For example, United States supported warlords. Well, perhaps there is no other choice, but they were very corrupt, and they were also lying about the number of, for example, military, whatever they were spending on people. They give them money to help the poor, but they were spending on themselves. Just recently, Taliban entered the mansion of Dostum. Dostum, he was Uzbek, correct?
He's Uzbek.
Yeah, that was incredible waste of money. Everywhere you see golden plated furniture and stuff. And people in abject poverty, hungry, and this warlord, who was also known for his torturing, killing, massacring people. And United States against Taliban and sides with Dostum. Dostum is known that he suffocated people, masses in big, trailers. And therefore, this kind of things, I think, also alienated people and created more corruption in the country. I think they mismanaged. And because there is somehow, if in a country, there is violation of human rights, stoning people to death, enslaving women, civilized world, maybe not the United States may not be the best, but civilized world should go help them. But while helping them, if they do this kind of mismanagement, and it's not working. Sarina, what do you say about this? I know you are not the government. You don't need to answer. You say no comment. Don't feel obligated to defend anything.
Well, I would say that that yes, there was a lot of corrupt people, and the tribes, the head of the tribe, that they were calling themselves that they're the leader of that tribe. Like, you mentioned a good example of one person. There is a lot of, people like that. And we find out, and people, or I would say Afghan people, knew that from the beginning that was happening, because they were using their tribes as an example to, collect the money and the power at the same time. Because when you have a power in those kind of countries like Afghanistan, that is a Cold War, and it's at the time that this was a time to build up stuff. But as I mentioned in my own words, before, that there was a lot of corrupt people too. We cannot just blame America. That we before you finger, up to somebody else, you have to understand what you have done for your country. It is important. In Afghanistan, we did not have unity between different types. We did not have the leaders. The local people are okay and fine, but the leaders did not have a connection, a strong bonding, other than the media, social media, taking some pictures and putting that there that we had a meeting. Other than that, they did not have a good bonding to sit together and talk, not just for one type or one part of Afghanistan. There was never a chance that they can come peacefully and honestly talk about the nation of Afghanistan. Locally, what is important? What's the value of Afghan people in the land of Afghanistan and the flag of Afghanistan? So of course, as we see, right now coming up some of the videos from different places and locations and houses, inside of the houses, that it's like, wow, we could never dream of that. Me, as I work in the government for 6 years, work with the special forces, I did not have even though my own home in Afghanistan. How they build up this all like a big like palaces, I would say. And it's not just, this is just an example in Afghanistan. Each of them are having palaces or houses in India, Turkmenistan, Dubai. Wow. In different countries. I don't want to like go over the countries right now. I don't want to like specifically attack one country right now, but most likely they were outside and their families already out. Who is left behind? The local poor people, Afghani people. Where is Dostum? Where is Atam Ahmad Noor? Where is those all leaders who talked about like we are going to die?
They escaped.
And where they escaped, why the countries allowed them to escape? Because they were already belong to those countries. war, or I would say this action of Taliban showed the real faces of the people who were part of the government, where they belong to exactly. Most likely, parliament member left Afghanistan to Pakistan, and those parliament members were talking against Pakistan in Kabul during their government, and then they're getting back there for safety, for the sake. It means that there was a connection before then.
Sarina, we are going to finish it in 5 minutes. Let's Ani have her last comment, and she needs to go, and we are all going to close it before an hour. Go ahead, Ani. Ani, we don't hear you. Your microphone is open, but somehow we don't hear you. What happened? No, your microphone is open.
We don't hear you yet.
Yes, now we hear you.
Edip, did you mute me?
Now I hear you. Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So thank you, Sarina, for pushing back with that point. Let me say something. Would any one of you take $1 million to kill someone? And I hope the answer is no. Would any of you take $1 million in the name of corruption? I hope the answer is no. And so at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who the forces are, who's giving you the money. If you are yourself corrupt, then that's on you. And so to blame the person giving the money for the corruption is, I think, a bit of a cheap shot. It's a low bar. If we, the people taking the money, are corrupt, then it doesn't matter how good the intention of the person giving the money is. You are going to corrupt the system because you're in it for yourself. So I'm really tired of people using American, NATO, or whoever the other forces are that have gone in with good intention to build up the society of Afghanistan, but naivete or just oblivious to the corruption, or prefer to look the other way to the corruption that's happening, because there was a real genuine effort to weed out the corruption in Afghanistan. And when they found out that the person with the purse was Ahmad Karzai's right-hand man, the whole system, the whole investigation shut down. So the Americans knew, but most importantly, the Afghanistanis who were in power, the tribe leaders, they were the corrupt ones. So let's leave it at that, and let's try to move forward with good intentions, with good niyat, as how we can move Afghanistan and the people who are suffering there forward. That's what we should be focusing on. Instead of getting to the weeds of the politics, it's done. The fact that Trump was negotiating with the Taliban without the Afghanistans there, without the interests of the Muslim, the Afghani women, without the interests of the minorities, the Shias, that in itself was despicable. And what we were doing is, with other international women-led organizations, was we were trying to force Trump administration you need to have the women at the table. You need to have the Afghan women at the table because you're giving it all away, which he did. So that's the problem we have right now. So I think I want to leave on a positive note that what we are doing is that we are signing on to, wherever there is possible, the city resolutions that's happening in the United States. We just signed on to one in Chicago to ask to have a resolution to accept Afghan refugees to Chicago, even though I'm in Los Angeles. And so that's the least we can do as American Muslims here in the United States, is to lobby for the refugees to be welcome to the United States. Please
be in touch with Sarina. Sarina, you also with Ani. You got to know each other here. Thank you, Ani. I really appreciate it.
Thanks. Nice to meet you, Sarina.
Yes.
Take care.
Askero, you have 1 minute or maximum 2 minutes.
Yeah, thank you so much. My point of view is that no external power has a right to construct a nation anywhere in the world. If, first of all, there was a nation, although that's a multinational country, Afghanistan has many different ethnicities, ethnic groups like Uzbeks, Turkmen, Tajik, Baluchis, etc. It's Hazaras, Pashtuns, etc. But they were a nation, first of all. Second, if they were not, it's up to them to build a nation through the internal dynamics of the country. No outside force can build a nation. This is first. And no outside actor has a right to build or construct a nation for someone. So if the external forces went there 42 years ago, first the Soviets, then the US, even Saudi Arabia was there, Pakistan always, other countries, etc. They complicated the situation. And then they, of course, had to pay about damage, but they escaped today. This is very unfortunate. And about the corruption, yeah, it's always like that. And the US public or US citizens, they also have been deceived, not only in Afghanistan, but also in other countries, especially in Iraq. If you just watch a documentary called Iraq for Sale, The War Profiteers, you're gonna see how Halliburton, KBR, Titan, etc., how they took advantage of US taxpayers, how the US tax dollar was spent and ruined there. It's incredible. And that's documentary, you know, it's documented by some people who care about the US people, US public, US democracy, etc. That's the case in Afghanistan as well. And they ruined the country and then they escaped. That's bad. Okay. Once they were there, I believe they could negotiate on better terms before leaving. And what they did, they simply turned the power to Taliban and escaped. And they can't escape the way they wanted to escape. That's another point. Bottom line, America has no right to construct a nation in Afghanistan or elsewhere. It is on the people and population of that particular country or another country to build and construct their own nation if necessary. On the other hand, there was a nation, as a matter of fact, but it's ruined today. I don't know how it's gonna go, what kind of developments we're gonna witness there, but the problem is not about women rights only. There are so many deep-rooted problems in Afghanistan. I would say there are zillions of problems, not one, not single. I'm gonna see how they're gonna handle this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Sarina, last words.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me and creating that beautiful Zoom meeting with the different, good people and having their thoughts and point of view too. Second, I would leave with a comment and note with that Afghan people are so strong. It have been so long that we are having war, and it is so hard to explain as Afghan women that what we have been through. But the world is right now watching so close everything in Afghanistan. And I hope the countries will open not just their borders for Afghanistan, but their help for the poor people who are inside of Afghanistan, the people, because it's impossible to take all Afghani people or all Afghan people out of Afghanistan. They have to do something regarding what is best for them inside of Afghanistan to make the stability and have a normal talk with the Taliban and move the power back to the democratic election, to let them to choose who they want to choose. And I think it's impossible without the help of international community. And they have to step in right now in Afghanistan. This is the time for them to make a change.
Thank you very much. Hopefully to see you again. All of you will in the future do other sessions on this topic. Take care. Peace.
Thank you.